Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. Today's video is another episode of my favorite YouTube series, New and Must-Have Crafty Supplies. I know, it's been a minute since I've had one of these videos for you. I did take a bit of a break over the holidays, but I miss these videos because I get to try out new supplies and then share the ones I love with you. Generally, I just look through the new products list at Simon Says Stamp, pick out some things that are interesting to me, and then share the ones that I love with you. This month, however, I was sent a few items that I really wanted to include in this video. So in full transparency, as I go through each of these products, I'll let you know which ones I purchased and which ones were sent to me. This month includes everything from layered dies to foils to alcohol pearls and more. So let's take a look at each of these products individually, and then at the end of the video, we'll make some quick cards. Here are the new samples I'm sharing this month. I have the Waffle Flower solid foil plate, which can be used with a hot foiling system, the Gentle Blossom watercolor flower dies from Memory Box. I grabbed the new Tim Holtz Alcohol Pearls and Alloy Rose. This is the new Therm O Web Mystic Rainbow Deco foils, plus they have two new sets of A2 toner sheets, Rainbows Galore and Spring Fling. I have the Spellbinders Be Bold Color Block Thank You Etched dies, and I have the Simon Says Stamp Miss You Wafer dies. So let's take a closer look at each of these new supplies, starting with the Memory Box floral dies, which are layering dies. I'm going to cut out all the dies out of Stamp Market cardstock. The leaf dies come with each leaf and layer in an individual die. So I cut them out of light and darker colors of green cardstock from the Stamp Market. I used the image on the front of the die package to see where the second layer was supposed to be positioned. It was pretty easy to figure out exactly where each leaf layer was supposed to go. I used the liquid glue Ultra Bond from Therm O Web to adhere the second layers on top of the first. Ultra Bond is great for this type of die cut layering because the glue has a slightly longer dry time, giving you time to straighten it out before it dries. And the pen nib allows you to use tiny dots or lines of the adhesive, and you really only need a tiny amount to adhere things together. This die set is just gorgeous, and I think this flower would look great in so many different colors or even mediums. In fact, I'll use this die later in the video with foiled die cuts. Next is the Miss You Wafer dies from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to cut it out of several colors of cardstock, starting with the rainbow holographic foil from Simon Says. I'm going to hold the dies in place with the new Therm O Web Pixie tape. I like this tape because it doesn't leave a sticky residue on my die cuts like some washi tape can. I also cut the dies out of white cardstock, diamond glitter cardstock from the Stamp Market, and vellum from Simon Says Stamp. The small letters from the die are perfect to use with Therm O Web iCraft Easy Cut adhesive to turn the glitter cardstock into a sticker. I adhered the rainbow holographic cardstock letters to the white cardstock shadow and vice versa. Even with the shadow around the letters, the die set is still small enough to use in the corner of a card. They're not a focal point sentiment, but they're just the right size to send a Miss You card focusing on other images. The next die set is from Spellbinders. Spellbinders sent me the Be Bold Color Block Thank You die, and I love this die because it's both a sentiment and a card design all in one. So I cut the main die out of white cardstock. Then I'm going to cut each letter out of rainbow of Stamp Market cardstock. Rather than cut out the entire die for each color, I decided to use scraps of paper held in place behind the letter I needed to cut out with pixie tape. I purchased 3 new colors of Tim Holtz Alcohol Pearls and the new Rose Alloy. I started with the Alcohol Pearls Divine and used a small amount on a 5x7 piece of Yupo paper. I used a felt mini alcohol ink applicator to move the color around in a line across the width of the Yupo paper. I did the same with the new color Elixir and then the new color Opulent. I'm just tapping the color with the felt applicator along the width of the paper, which leaves a relatively consistent amount of alcohol ink pearls on the Yupo paper. I filled in the rest of the rainbow with some colors of alcohol ink pearls I had from an earlier release. Next, I dropped some Tim Holtz blending solution on that rainbow and allowed the blending solution to do its work on the alcohol pearls, and then added some drops of the new alloy too. I used the Tim Holtz Alcohol Ink Blower and some more of the pearls to completely blend out the alloy and rainbow of pearls. And I love both the colors and the shine you get from this. Next up is the new Therm O Web Mystic Rainbow Foils and new toner A2 sheets that Therm O Web sent me. These Deco foil sheets and toner sheets can be used with a laminator to apply the foil to the toner designs, and an affordable laminator is great to have if you don't have a hot press foil system. Simply heat up the laminator and then place the foil with the color side up and the silver side down against the toner. Fold a piece of parchment paper in half and place the foil and toner card inside the parchment paper sandwich. The parchment paper keeps the pieces together so they don't get crumpled up and then jammed inside the laminator. Place the folded edge inside the opening of the laminator and let the sandwich run through. Then the peel and reveal shares how the beautiful new Mystic Rainbow foil looks on these super cute new A2 toner sheets. The colors are absolutely amazing, and these new designs are just the cutest. Next up, I'm going to share one way to use the Waffle Flower solid foil plate, which they sent me recently. I placed the solid foil plate on the glimmer machine and then pressed the timer button to warm up the plate. Next, I placed a piece of gold foil with the color side down on the foil plate, and then I placed some die cuts of white hammermill cardstock with the top of the die cut down on the silver side of that foil. Then I placed a piece of 110-pound white cardstock down and then the clear foiling plate and ran it through the Spellbinders Platinum. When you pull off the foil, you can see the die cuts are completely covered with the foil. This is such an easy way to foil die cuts. If you'd like to see more ideas on using this solid foil plate, just let me know in the comments below. I'd love to do another video featuring other techniques you can do with this. I also covered some of the flower die cuts with blue foil as well. The reason that I use the cardstock shim here first before the clear plate is so any excess foil will get on the cardstock rather than that clear plate. I ended up with a bunch of foil die cuts for more cards. Now it's time to use these backgrounds and die cuts to make some fun cards. For this first card, I cut down one of the foiled Rainbow Galore toner cards to 4 by 5 1/4, and I used some Therm O Web Memory Runner XL to adhere it down to an A2 piece of Spellbinders black cardstock. I used diamond glitter cardstock to cut out the Miss You letters and matted those on the black cardstock shadow die cut. I used 2 Therm O Web black foam squares to pop up the sentiment to complete this quick card. If you do all of your laminator foiling at once, you can turn all of those foiled A2 card fronts into cards quickly and easily. For the next card, I'm going to use a memory box glitter cardstock for a background. If you've seen my other new and must-have craft supplies videos, you know I've featured their various specialty paper pads before. I have 2 new ones that I grabbed for next month's video, so stay tuned for that. I always use liquid glue to apply cardstock to glitter because tape runners tend to have trouble sticking. I used foam squares to pop up the petals of the layered die-cut flower and then adhered the leaves flat underneath. I used some liquid glue behind the glitter letters on the vellum to hide the adhesive of the sentiment. Another quick card to put together once all those flower pieces have been assembled, and you could do those flowers in tons of different colors. For this card, I trimmed down the alcohol ink panel to about 3.5 by 6, and I matted that on a white piece of cardstock. You can just use tape runner to adhere the Yupo to cardstock without a problem. I then popped up the Miss You sentiment where the letters were cut out of rainbow holographic cardstock on a white cardstock shadow. And I absolutely love the way that that rainbow background with the alcohol ink pearls turned out. Between the rose alloy and those pearls, you get tons of color and shine. For the card with the Spellbinders Be Bold color block dies, I started at the left-hand side and glued down all the white cardstock and layered the colorful letters on top of the white cardstock letters. This gives the colorful letters extra dimension, but uses the design of the card from the dies as a base. Alternatively, you could use other colors instead of white for that background. I'm using tape runner here so I can work quickly and have no dry time, and I found it easy to make sure everything was lined up. The U is a separate die, and I cut that out of glitter diamond cardstock from the stamp market 3 times so that the letters would be dimensional and not get lost on the colorful large letter background. You could absolutely use white cardstock for the 2 layers underneath the top glitter layer. I added some Spellbinder's silver embellishments around that part of the sentiment as well to really make it stand out. For the quickest completed card, I used the foiled Spring Fling card front and popped up a Miss You sentiment. If you pre-foil a bunch of those card fronts again and assemble several sentiments, you could mass produce these shiny happy cards quite easily. Another way to stretch those A2 foiled card fronts is to cut them into strips and just use a partial piece like you would a piece of pattern paper. The size of the tiny foiled flowers from the Spring Fling card front set contrast really nicely with a large foiled flower made from the memory box dies. I was very careful when layering the foiled flower pieces together because if you smear a little bit of glue on the foil, it will appear less shiny even though the glue dries clear. I needed a new die cut sentiment, so I decided to layer black cardstock on vellum. I used thin cut strips of black foam squares behind some of the letters to pop this sentiment up on the panel. I had created some gold foiled leaves using the solid plate, and I adhered those flat behind the popped up foiled flower, and I loved the way they filled in that flower. I did not want to waste any of that 5x7 alcohol ink rainbow panel I created, so I grabbed one strip I had cut off and trimmed it down to 5.5 so I could adhere it to the bottom of a horizontal A2 card. For this card, I decided to use the Miss You words without the shadow, so I was able to line them up horizontally rather than on top of each other. I like when you can get different looks from one small die set like this. I wanted these words lined up justified to the right, so I started by adhering the U where I wanted it and then lined up the Miss next to it. I love creating a card with scraps like this. For this card, I used a piece of black cardstock that I had cut the sentiment out of as a mat and added the Rainbows Galore A2 foiled card front on top. The pink shadow die cut was foiled with the solid foil plate. I think plain white cardstock stands out nicely on top of the pink foiled background, and once again, popping it up with foam squares really helps it stand out from the pretty foiled background. As you know, I love sharing these videos because I love playing with new product, but I'd also really like to hear what your favorite was today or what you'd like to see more of in the future. Let me know in the comments below. I am back to doing these videos monthly, so be sure to subscribe to my channel so you'll be able to see next month as soon as it's available. If you missed my last new and must-have crafty supplies video, you can check it out over here. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. So be sure to be subscribed. Okay, that's too many words. If you missed my last, I'm gonna try to slow it down for my brain and my tongue. No. If you missed last